I love one thing that's incredible in science now is they push the frontiers of science. It's starting to sound more and more like spirituality and metaphysics. So now, I mean, well, starting last century, and people like Einstein and people in quantum physics started saying everything is energy. You know, this is energy. And they came up with this whole thing, the duality of matter, that everything physical is physical and it's also a wave. It's energy. And if everything's energy, it means that everything has an energy field. I mean, that's just basic physics. Whether it's this cup, it may not be a very strong one, but it has an energy field. Or whether it's the earth, or whether it's you. We all have energy fields. So I think it's important for all of us, because people will come up to you and act like you're studying superstition and voodoo or something. And you know, the fact that everything's energy is what quantum physics says. The fact that everything has an energy field is what quantum physics says. In fact, they get as weird as anything we're going to do. One of the concepts in physics is what's called non-locality. Anybody here know a lot about physics? Oh, good. Yes. And because I want to make it clear, I'm about as far away as being an expert on physics as you could get. So my apologies for things I might be explaining poorly, but the concepts are correct. I mean, are correctly part of physics. And this non-locality is really important for what we're going to be doing over these 4 days. There are levels of energy where time and space break down and have no effect. So you can take something and take it thousands of miles apart, and it's no different than if it's together. So one of my favorite experiments is that concept called entanglement in physics. Now, I don't know how they do this, but they can take two atoms or molecules and entangle them. And if they're entangled, if you imagine like I had little objects in my hand, if these two are entangled, if I go like this one will go like that. If I go like this one will go that. One moves, the other moves. They're entangled. Now, you can kind of get if they're close together, that would work. Though, of course, the thing is, why would being close together make it work? But for whatever reasons, they start moving in harmony. Well, they found out that you can take them in the next room, 100 miles away, 1,000 miles away. You can take them out in space. And if you move this one moves. And the reaction happens instantaneously, which means it's faster than the speed of light. And the speed of light is supposed to be the ultimate speed limit, or that's what they used to say last century. And one quantum physicist calls this and some other things spooky interactions at a distance. And it actually scared a lot of physicists because the things that quantum physics are talking about totally challenge all our normal things. So these two things are physically separate, and the speed with which they'll react together, it doesn't matter how far apart they are. The distance has absolutely no effect on them. And what they've discovered is that certain ranges of energy, you have non-locality. In a certain sense, that energy is everywhere at the same time. Now, logically, can I tell you what that means? Of course not. But I just want to point out that that's a part of physics now. So science is very much more and more backing up what we're saying. So that everything's energy, that there's non-locality, so that things can happen just the same whether they're in person or not. They're now saying in physics that you can move backward and forward through time. How many of you know about Stephen Hawking? You know, he's considered one of the great physicists. He's very explicit about that it's totally part of our universe that you can go backwards and forwards in time. And in fact, in that super collider that they've got somewhere in Switzerland or wherever under the mountains, I'm probably butchering this, so my apologies. They're looking for this Hertz something particle. And one of the things that's interesting about it is a lot of subatomic particles, they're not stable and they split into other things. So if you start with A, you end up with B and C. Well, sometimes you get B and C and then you get A. I mean, it goes backwards in time, and they can't figure it out. So moving through time, so time not being linear in the way that we experience it is part of physics. That things can happen at a distance is part of physics. And I find that very gratifying because particularly in the third and fourth days, we're going to be more and more working with being able to do things remotely. And some of you know almost all of my work is on the telephone. It doesn't matter if I'm working with somebody in another part of San Francisco or another part of the world. It makes absolutely no difference. And it's because you connect them with that level of reality. And the 6-year-old in me would love to say that's because I'm so special. It's just because that's the way things are. And if you open up to it being possible, it's entirely possible. And for those of you that are here all 4 days, the third and fourth day, we're going to do a lot of remote work and start healing people at a distance and working with people, which is an amazing thing. And we'll talk about it more, why you would want that, whether or not you want to be healing people, but how you can just make that a part of your life. It's quite a phenomenal thing. So one of the points in everything that I'm saying is that you will run into people all the time that will treat this like it's some kind of superstition. It's not superstition. Everything we're doing is scientific. Just because science can't explain everything we're doing doesn't make it unscientific. Science can't explain gravity. It's still scientific. In fact, one of the leading theories for gravity now is that we live in an 11-dimensional reality, and our universe is in certain dimensions, and there are other universes literally right next to us in other dimensions, and we can't interact with them because they're, who knows what a dimension is, but they're in other dimensions, and that gravity is the way it is because it leaks from one invisible universe to the other. And the weird thing is, mathematically, that actually totally works. Whether it's true or not, I don't know how they'll ever know. So we live in this mystical, amazing universe, even according to science now. We live in a universe where things can exist in more than one form and in more than one place at the same time. So we're going to be tapping into what now looks like more and more laws of physics that are also spiritual laws. And I think it's important for all of us to go, everything that we're doing is as scientific as anything else in the world. Science is just having trouble catching up with it.